And welcome back to Nancy's Neighborhood, folks. And I told you I have another special guest on that's going to share some information with you and some things that she does. And she's a very special lady. It's Cathy Payne, and she happens to be the grandmother of my producer, Alex Payne. But that's not what she wants. She didn't want to talk about Alex. No, that's not what she's on here. She's with the Global Missions Ministries of the Church of God of Prophecy, and she's going to tell us a little bit about what she does in this position. Okay. So, Cathy, so good. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you.
And I'm enjoying your grandson as my producer, and so far he's not made me feel too bad about too many things. So thank you for sharing him with me. So tell everyone what it is that you do with the Church of God.
Well, first I'll say it's a delight to be here.
Thank you, ma'am.
And we appreciate all the things that you have done to invest our grandson. I coordinate the support efforts for our missions program for the Church of God of Prophecy globally. And so that's 135 established nations, and then several nations that are new and coming on board right now.
And when we say globally, we're not talking about Bradley County, state of Tennessee, or the United States.
Well, we're all part of it, yes.
I know, but you're talking about the entire world, and you're
Yes, ma'am.
going everywhere with your missions and ministries.
I've been to about 110 nations.
Wow.
You can see it right under my eyes, all 110
Bless your
of them.
heart. Bless your heart. And, okay, so you said that you could tell me the countries?
That's for our One Child Fund. Part of the ministry
Okay.
of what we do is supporting our missionary and their national efforts, including the United States of America. So we have ministries here as well. And projects like building buildings and building schools, providing transportation, helping ministry support. We have an AIDS clinic in South Africa.
Oh,
we have
wow.
several medical clinics around the world. And then one of the unique ministries that is very close to my heart is the One Child Fund, which is an orphanage and needy child ministry. And those are in 13 nations.
Wow.
Where we support homes that are there and take care of children.
Now, something you said, and I didn't catch it exactly, but something you said at the very first, established nations or something like that. Mm-hmm. Then are there nations that are not established? What?
There are nations that are new.
Okay.
We have new work in them.
Okay.
And working to establish them
Okay.
as a bulkhead or a place where there's a national presence and ministry. We opened the new nation of Gambia last year, and I went there to do the dedication day of the building. They had hundreds of people on site.
Wow.
It was a great day of celebration. And so that was one of our newer ones. And then, of course, one that was very exciting this year was the Navajo Nation.
Oh,
and
neat.
we were invited onto the territory on the border of New Mexico and perhaps Utah, in that area where there's a large Navajo presence. And we've been invited to go on there, and we've helped them build a building and a place for children's ministries. It's been very exciting
That is
to
neat.
be part of that. And so those are one of the nations that are included as established, but of course they're not included on that 135.
I got you. So, Gambia, where is Gambia?
Gambia is mostly, I would say, maybe eastern, southeastern on that little part around Africa.
Okay,
And
so they're an
it's
African
a port
nation.
city.
Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, neat. Okay. So when you say you all go in and you build, you're not just building churches. You're building necessities.
Centers.
Okay.
We're building centers. We're building, in Paraguay, a team went in last year. I think they built 36 homes
Oh, wow.
for underprivileged families. They're getting ready to start a new dormitory for university students. The students live about a 2.5 hour drive away from the university. So they get on a bus when it's still night, really, drive to the university. They go to school all day long, and then they drive back at night. So we're getting ready to build a dormitory. We've got a donor who has just donated, given a grant, and we're getting ready to build a dormitory that will house these young people that are university students. They will move into the dormitories. They won't make that long drive every day of the week. They'll make it maybe on Monday morning or Sunday evening, and they'll actually stay in the dormitory all week long. They'll have a place to study. There will be a house mother, house parents there that oversee to their welfare and their benefit. And so, yes, it's very active. Whatever the indigenous ministry is there, several of our ministries are in the jungles, more out in the areas. And I've been to cities where they don't wear clothes, and you know, you learn to
Interesting.
You learn to. I don't take off my clothes, but I do learn to be comfortable with our family, and this is a family to us. It's a global family, just like Cleveland has a family. The other
Yes.
things that we do is like in disaster relief. We've already started sending workers over to North Carolina, sending funding over there. The call came a couple of days ago as we began to know what the damage is in Florida, and we're starting the efforts there. Earthquakes, when Nepal had their terrible earthquake, we were able to go in and build a home for orphaned children. When
Wow.
the tsunami came
Yes.
and touched so many, not just Indonesia, but so many
Right.
nations, that resulted in about 4 new orphanages where those children were indeed orphaned. They were the only ones of their families that survived. And so we went in and gave them a home, and I've had the opportunity to be to almost all of our orphanage or children's homes. It's pretty amazing to be part of that.
It is, because I used to be on the board of Holston United Methodist Home in Greenville, and it's just when you look at what you're doing, and you know you can't do it yourself,
Right.
but an organization can.
Right.
Now I want to go back to the students that would ride the bus.
In Paraguay.
Yes. You know, when you talk about things like that, and folks, I'm not fussing, but you look at our students who, you know, I have to get up at 7 o'clock to get to
Pampered,
school at
little
8 o'clock,
pampered, little
you know,
spoiled.
and it's just awful. I know I have a son. I used to have to blast out of bed to get to school, but these kids are getting up in the middle of the night and riding a bus
For the privilege.
for the
of an
privilege of education,
Yes, ma'am.
which we take for granted.
Which we do. And all of our orphanage works or children's home, we sponsor the school effort, the education effort in Haiti. We're still rebuilding that orphanage from the earthquake there
Oh
a few
gosh,
years
and that
ago.
was terrible down there.
We have about 85 children that actually live in the orphanage, but we have a school that's centered there, and Global Aid Network has partnered with us to help rebuild the school. It's a tremendous, amazing partnership that we've been blessed with. And so our school is not just for our children, but we give a free school to the community there. And so we have maybe 300 students in that school,
Wow.
maybe a little bit more. These children wouldn't have the opportunity for education,
Right.
except for our school there at the children's home.
And
And that happens all the way in almost every nation where we have children homes. It's the same thing.
And people don't seem to understand, but education is so important because we are
So
never
important.
going to get to where we need to be in this world without
Until we
an
have the
education.
resources. I went to one of the times that I was in Sierra Leone. We have about 74 schools there that we
Wow.
sponsor and help. And this school was way out of the city, way out in the boondocks, out in the bush is what they called it. And as I was walking through the classrooms, there was a one line on there that before I knew it, I could feel the tears streaming down my face. And it just said this: in Sierra Leone, because of the Church of God of Prophecy, even girls are allowed
Yes.
to learn. And it was an awakening for me, being raised in a privileged nation where it's just part of our everyday lives. But in a society like Sierra Leone, maybe girl children, female children would be considered last.
Well, I know the Methodist Church has had Etta Nicole was in Sierra Leone and with an establishment there that she was working with the girls. And I think sometimes females take it for granted because not every country is privileged. I know there's places in Saudi Arabia that they're just now ladies are just now driving.
Right.
And I'm thinking, I've been driving since I was 16.
Yeah, me too.
So these are privileges that we just take for granted.
It's pretty amazing to, just shortly after the rock and rollin' war that we had in the Middle East, I had the opportunity to go into Indonesia, and one of our 5 orphanages in Indonesia, it was in Surabaya, very close to a very religious community that is not Christian, anti-American, anti-female. And so I went into this new orphanage that had been established for about 3 years. And I was an American. I was a woman.
Yes.
I was a Christian.
You already have 3 strikes against you, Cathy.
And
What are you
so
doing?
the children were very tense. I could tell they were very tense. And it was so fun because I had taken in these huge suitcases. We had brought in toys, dolls, American chocolate, peanut M&Ms, Snicker bars, that kind of thing. And so as they introduced me to these children, I said, I'm just going to ask you to write a letter to some of the people who donate that you can live in this home and have food and go to school. And if you'll just write me a letter and do a little art project, just draw a little picture. So they pulled out their pencils and their crayons and their coloring. And as they're doing that, we start unzipping these suitcases, and I'm throwing candy on the table and toys, and their eyes are getting bigger and bigger. They don't dare reach out.
Yeah.
But eventually I said, help yourself, whatever you see that you want, it's yours. I've brought it for you. And so I went on to a ministry opportunity that I had there in Indonesia. And as we came back through the city, we stopped back at the orphanage again, the children's home. And as I got out of the van, I heard them calling my name, Auntie Cathy, Auntie Cathy. And so those walls that had been so defined were immediately, the thing that our world turns on, and the prejudice and bias and hatred that comes between communities and faiths and gender and all the things that the world loves to point out and make an issue of. All of that had dissolved into this now relationship. Now we're family.
Yeah.
And I'm auntie.
And education is where it needs to be.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, my big question to you is, how in the world, the global world, did you fall into this?
I just have to say it was absolutely the Lord. My husband and I traveled in evangelism for about 8 years. We traveled all over the country. Our son, Alex's dad, was about 2 when we started. And so we traveled for 8 or 9 years. Then we went to pastor in California, far away from our home in Virginia, other side of the world for us. And we were there in Bakersfield, a whole different culture,
Yes.
very different. And we had a multicultural church, which was fun. And after about 8 years there, they called from Cleveland, from our international offices, and said, my general overseer said, we've prayed until we feel good about calling you. And they brought me in to do the international women's ministries work.
Okay.
And I was there for about 20 years.
Wow.
And in 2012, the new general overseer came to my office and said, traditionally in this church, the missions person has always been male. And as we are getting ready to change an emphasis here of our missions directors going somewhere else, we just feel impressed that the Lord is telling us you're the answer. And so I asked for time to prayer because I also knew that meant there would be a de-emphasis perhaps of women's ministries from our international offices if I was going to move.
You were giving up something to start something else.
That's or to move into a slot.
Right.
And so I was encouraged strongly. They felt like I was the one that the Lord was speaking. And so that year, 2012, I moved into the missions office, and I've been there ever since.
And world travel. I mean, you have been everywhere. You've been to countries.
It's been exciting. Went into Pakistan, and people asked me, was I going to get, contact lenses that were brown, and was I going to get a nice tan? And I said, I don't want to change my appearance so much that the Lord doesn't recognize me.
Well, there you
so
go.
let me just go in for who I am and trust that He's got His hand on me.
Absolutely. And I just think this is marvelous that you do this. So basically you do have an office here in Cleveland.
I do, at the international office.
At the international headquarters. But how often are you there?
Well, it's I guess it seems unreal for me to say I've been there 25 years, but I have been.
Wow.
Came in 93. Over those years, I would say that I'm almost always there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Okay.
And so then on Fridays, often from Friday till Mondays, I might be traveling, and I leave for India in a few days. I'm very excited to go back. It'll be, I think, my 5th or 6th time to go into India.
Wow.
So I'm looking forward to it. Our family's there. We're looking forward to seeing them. Our church family, of course.
And I just think that's awesome. And you have no fears of these countries that you're going into?
No, I've been arrested in Belarus. We were in the middle of a riotous mob in Nigeria once, in a very pivotal situation where we saw people being batted around us with, and beaten, and we were surrounded by an angry mob that were trying to get at us. And I look very different than most people in Nigeria.
Yes, you do.
And I was sitting in the front seat, and so I knew the threat. But the Lord absolutely, some miraculous work of the Lord, He absolutely intervened. Sometime I'll have perhaps the opportunity to tell you about that. But we went through. They absolutely parted and let us go through, and I know it was divine intervention.
Wow.
So there have been a few times when Egypt, there was a time that I was there that it was very critical, and they had a military team that had a truck in front of us and a jeep of soldiers behind us, and everywhere we went, they surrounded us. They had the big honking guns, and
Right.
Everywhere we went, they surrounded us. But I've never really been afraid, because that's not who my hope is in. I know
Understand.
that I'm going for the right reason. I'm going because the Lord opened the door. And if He opened the door, then He's got a divine appointment, no matter who it's with, whether it's with someone from another faith or someone that's never even heard anything about the goodness of God.
And that is so hard for people to believe, that people have not heard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but they haven't.
They
I think
haven't.
we take advantage of, or we don't realize the advantage we have in the United States of everything is open to us, everything is available to us.
Yeah.
We're free to do whatever we want to do. Our beliefs may not always agree. Your church got a prophecy. I'm Methodist, but I know that our backgrounds
We're
in
the
those
same
two religions,
family.
that's exactly
Yes,
right.
we
We're the
are.
same family. So, but I think we take advantage, and we don't
Excuse me.
appreciate and understand.
Yeah, I think, it's been amazing for me. I've had the privilege. I think in this nation, you get sick, you go to the doctor.
Yeah.
You go to the
Yeah.
emergency room.
Yeah.
But in many of the nations I've been in Ethiopia, I watched as blinded eyes were open, deaf ears, people that could not hear in one moment and the next they were hearing. I saw lame people get up, throw their crutches away, their sticks away, and walk. I saw a humpback man be miraculously healed. And so I think to that end, it's pretty amazing to see what
Oh, wow, yes.
God can do when there are no other options.
And
I know our time is just
it is.
flying past.
Alex is over there saying, "Oh." Anyway, I'm ignoring you, Alex. I personally think that everybody that lives in the United States of America should visit a third world country one time.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
we used to have a manufacturing plant in Guatemala, and in Guatemala City, even though that's a huge capital of a huge, million people in there, that's still a third world country.
Yeah. Oh,
And-
yes.
And so I think, and I will tell you, when we landed it back in Miami the first time we went down there, I could have kissed the ground.
Yes, ma'am.
But I think people in America don't have any idea.
First time I went to India, we gave out saris to the women, the leper women, and some of the other people. I had sent the money; they had bought it. We gave rice bags to the lepers to have food, and as I was giving out the saris, the missionary's wife leaned over and she said, "Cathy, you've just doubled their wardrobe."
Oh my gosh.
And she said, usually a woman will keep one, maybe two if she has the luxury. And she said, you've just done a great thing here. And I came home from that trip. I was really quiet through most of it. I came home from that trip and I looked in my closet.
I was going to say, did you look in your closet?
And I was ashamed
Yes.
at the shoes and the clothes that
Yes.
were hanging there. And I said to John, I'm ashamed that, my husband, I said, I'm ashamed that I have said from time to time, I don't have anything to wear.
No. Aren't
And
we
I
all?
said, I might say in the future, I don't have anything that fits. But I
Yes.
will never again say that I don't have anything to wear.
Right. And that's what I was
It
just
does
thinking.
change your perspective.
It does, because this morning I was trying to decide between 4 different things to put on, and I thought, Nancy, this is ridiculous. So, Cathy, Alex is about to have a stroke in there because we
Don't have a stroke,
but,
Alex.
But don't. Your grandmother says you're okay. So I need to get you back on because we didn't even
I'd
get to
love to
talk
come
about your
back.
children's project that you do.
Yes.
And I'll just let Alex let you know when I have another opening, and I'd
That'd be
love to have.
great.
So nice meeting you today.
So nice to
and
meet you.
wonderful to talk to you. And I'm enjoying your
Thank you
grandson.
for what you do for the community.
Oh, well, you're so welcome. I enjoy every bit of it. And like I say, Alex he's pretty much settled down now because I'm getting ready to sign off. Okay, we're going to commercial, folks. Don't go away. Be sure you watch our commercials to support our sponsors because they pay our bills. And I'll be right back with upcoming events. And thank you, Cathy, for being on with me.
Thank you, Nancy.